Morning, everyone. My name is John Martin, Chairman of County Development Committee. I call the Tuesday, October 19th meeting of that committee to order and request please that call the roll.
Brown. Berman.
Berman here.
Ford.
Present.
Iqbal.
Iqbal present.
Kenyon.
Here.
Wojnicki.
Present.
Braz.
Here.
Caius.
Caius present.
Pirog. Shepro. Martin. You have a quorum.
We have a quorum. I should note that the meeting was called on at 10:37 a.m.
Is there a fine for these people that go over
10:27.
the previous chairman?
Just continuing to stain.
15 minutes wasn't
It's
bad.
just,
They have to bring food
I
to the
think he
next
just
meeting.
figures if he gets it done before that, while the day is there, he's met his obligation, so. We have minutes to approve. We have before us the August 17th minutes. We're going to defer on the September 21st minutes. So may I have a motion, please, to approve August 17th? Mr. Fraz moves, Mr. Kyle seconds. Comments or questions? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman.
Berman, yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Ford.
Ford, yes.
Iqbal.
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon.
Yes.
Wojnicki.
Yes.
Braz.
Yes.
Caius.
Caius, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Approved. Thank you.
Item 3, monthly financials. We have that report in the file. We have no one present from the finance department. So should there be questions from the committee, please address them to the appropriate department. Do we have anybody registered for public comment today? Hearing none, seeing none, we will move to the next item, which is 5, our building and zoning report. Mr. Van Kerkhoff.
Good morning. It was good to see everybody this morning. Our team continues to work primarily remotely and seeing the public by appointment. We had back in August drafted up our return to office, regular office hours. Back in August, we put those plans on hold with the increase in cases. We are back on track now to planning to reopen for regular business hours, 8:30 to 4:30. Starting Monday, November 1st. I want to thank Jamie Labrillo with HR and the Health Department and Facilities Management for all their support and getting our offices prepared, both physically and procedurally. And again, to IT for the quick pivot we made back from the get-go to be able to service the construction industry and permits primarily by email and online payments. Our customers actually love it. We anticipate that our actual people coming to the building counter will be just a single digit percentage compared to the traffic we had before when we did everything in person. But we're grateful to be able to plan on reopening with regular office hours. With that, our team continues to come into the office as needed for their tasks and by appointment. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, those are our plans moving forward.
Questions or
Chairman?
comments of this, Mr.
Yeah.
Kyle?
This is Caius. Yeah. Are you going to be doing the planning meeting still by Zoom on Monday mornings? Here.
Yes, we found that a lot of the customers who are attending those meetings are either from distances inside the county. We have a lot of people who are looking at engineers or planners that are involved with it that are even outside of the county. So they seem to like that. It actually makes us very prepared with PowerPoints. We had a lot of support from other departments. In fact, our meeting this Monday, we had a special exhibit prepared by KDOT with an overlay over transportation plans and water resources. Often has great wetlands, topo and drainage maps to assist us. So that works out very well and we'll continue that. We also continue to do our regional planning commission and Zoom by Zoom, our zoning board of appeals by Zoom, and we do have staff on site as required. And our administrative adjudication program also is a combination hybrid. People can attend in person or via Zoom.
Thank you.
So, Nikki?
Thank you, Chairman. There's been something on my mind lately about like our comprehensive plan. If you remember going back, Mark, you know, our comprehensive plan was sort of our planning Bible in a way. And so we had the urban area, the critical growth area, and the ag area. So my thinking is there are so many new board members and there's many new municipal leaders in Kane County. Are they aware of our 20, would be a 2050 plan, I would say, probably? Are we at our 2050 plan by now? Or
No, we're
2040?
on the 2040 plan that was adopted in 2012.
Okay,
The update of that is something we began talking about with the Regional Planning Commission. It sort of starts with the conceptual land use strategy and that map, and then into the further refinement of the 2040 land use map. That has been somewhat stalled by COVID and staff resources really being poured into securing grants to implement a lot of the programs of the 2040 plan. So it still is, yeah, it's the very basic basis planning document for everything that we're doing with farmland protection, for economic development, for our land use strategies. But to your point, in terms of new board members and new municipal elected officials knowing some of the basics about the county's plan, that's probably something we could do a fresh PR on. I could work with Rick Nagel on Kane County Connects and maybe have a special Zoom meeting about that, or we're happy to work with you on what you think would be most effective.
yeah, I'd like to see that moving forward because what I'm seeing is the growth in Kane County is somewhat, I hate to say exploding, but that's where it looks like it's going. And so we have a clear slate. This is the time that, you know, we cooperate and coordinate with municipalities saying, you know, this is really what our Kane County plans are for the future. We learn from the mistakes of a lot of our counties to the east of us. And we treasure our heritage of agriculture and maybe want to move forward with maybe more creative developments, maybe developments with more trees and open space and things of that sort, instead of just cookie cutter subdivisions that are proposed lately. So yeah, I appreciate your listening to me, but yeah, I've been thinking about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Fraz?
Fraz speaking. Yeah, I think that's a real good point. I know there's been grumblings about the LaFox project coming back in the next few years. And we just had an issue come up where I was on with the staff meeting yesterday. And I think it is interesting that, you know, when you say the 2040 plan or critical growth area, some people don't know what that is.
Mhm.
So I would suggest if we had the staff time, a quick fix would be to maybe just do a little 2040 refresher, you know, with just the basics, kind of a small PowerPoint that we could put on Kane County Connects or put it online, and anybody could look at it then, and we could use Kane County Connects to get the word out there. Because I agree that stuff's going to be coming up more and more, and we used to talk about it at every meeting. But when development dropped off, it kind of fell by the wayside. So I think a refresher would be very timely.
Mhm.
Anyone else? I have one editorial comment relative to opening the office and the fact that people are doing things electronically. I spent my entire work life billing my time at quarter-hour increments. And I can't tell you how many clients I would have that would be thrilled if I didn't have to charge them for driving time to meet my day. And that's not specious. It argues against, I guess, my own economics, but since I'm not working anymore, it doesn't matter as much. But I think it's important for us, and we're in the planning process, and we talk about what our new offices should be. how we should configure and all that kind of stuff. If we don't do it electronically, if we don't figure out good ways for people to feel that they can communicate with us in an economic way, we're doing a disservice, I think, to the constituents. The old days of, knowing the counterman, so you could get to somebody, I think are long gone. And I applaud what you're doing, and I think we just need to do more of it. So, thank you. We have a couple of petitions today. We'll start with 4584.
My first petition this morning is 4584 William Schupper Howard Trust, rezoning from F District Farming to F1 District Rural Residential. This is the location on the 2040 plan map. You can see it's in an area slated predominantly for agriculture. There's an older rural subdivision just to the south and west. Here it is on the zoning map. Again, you can see it's predominantly zoned F District Farming in that area with some other residential uses. Here it is on the aerial. You can see it's in an area as it's zoned is used primarily for agriculture. Here's a little bit of a close-up. The existing farmstead for the proposed F1 is actually owned and part of the property to the north as well. So this would be a little bit of a reconfiguration and rezoning to allow the farmhouse to be sold off to the longtime renter. As you can see, the configuration of the parcel is to get to 5 acres, but there's a little bit of a jog in order to incorporate the existing pole barn on the north part of the cluster there. Staff recommended comments and stipulations. I won't read them all the way through, but they're basically comments from Water Resources regarding the amount of floodplain, where the home would be built if one were to be done. There's an existing home there now. This will result in just the existing home remaining. Kane County Division of Transportation has no requirements. They should allow for future right-of-way in the future. Staff recommended findings of fact that the rezoning will not intensify the existing residential use and will allow the existing farmland to be sold off separately. And it's here for your consideration this morning. Regional Planning Commission was not applicable. Zoning Board of Appeals approved with the staff recommend stipulations. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
May we have a motion, please? Mr.
I would
Kenyon.
move.
Kenyon moves. Wendy
I'll
seconds.
second. And
Comments or questions of Ms.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've had questions from neighbors that live on Freeland Road. And so the renter is purchasing the farmhouse and the 5 acres. And then who owns the other 5 acres? Is that owned by, that's not owned by the renter, that's owned by somebody else, the Schupper Hauser, I guess?
Well, the balance is more than 5 acres, but I
Uh-huh.
believe the trust is maintaining ownership of that farmland.
Okay. And that's not the renter,
Correct.
correct? Okay,
That's my understanding.
okay, thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Caius.
Yeah, when I first saw this, I thought maybe this was the airstrip. That's an interesting configuration of
Yeah,
the,
it is.
along the longest narrow 5 acres you can get. Is that a typical? Is that kind of atypical?
We see different types. This question did come up from the zoning board members. This is actually 2 parcels now, and the southern parcel is a long, narrow parcel running east to west. So the only switch in the configuration is to put that little jog on to include the building. renter, my understanding was what they could afford to purchase was 5 acres and not additional. So that's also contributed to the configuration. A lot of cases, I don't know if this is the case for them, but a lot of times people who have additional acreage that are in farming will continue to lease that for someone else to farm.
Any other questions?
Bryce has a question.
Mr. Fries?
Two questions, actually. I just see at the top of page 2, it discusses the owners will develop and implement and maintain a detention storage facility. So we're requiring that they construct detention on this?
I'll let Ann Wilford address that with Water Resources.
Yeah, thanks. No, not at this time. We have a section of our ordinance, though, that defines the Plat Act as a form of development. And so the existing impervious is all created prior to 2001. But should they build a home on the lot that doesn't have a home, or for some reason expand on the 5 acre lot and hit that 25,000 square feet of impervious, then they'd be required to do detention. So at this time, there's no
Okay,
detention.
so that's in the future.
Yes.
And then as far as item 2, this is related to KDOT. It says KDOT would recommend a 33-foot right of way there. I just want to be sure that is are they agreeing to that? I just hate
Tom
when-
Rickard is here with KDOT. I'll let
see
him
when
address
things say
that.
recommend and we don't really know if they're going to do it or not.
Can you hear me? Okay. This is not a stipulation. It's not a requirement. Typically with a straight rezoning, we do not require right-of-way dedication. We're more concerned that the setback is established so that buildings aren't kind of pushing up into or next to the right-of-way. So this is not a stipulation.
Okay, but KDOT satisfied with the
Yes.
petition as written. Thanks. Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing none. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Yes.
Brown,
Brown, yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Froz,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Petition 4585.
Okay, petition number 4585, David Giordano, requesting a special use in the F farming district for a private landing strip for up to 2 planes, which is the maximum allowed by the special use in the F district. This is a location on the 2040 future land use map. You can see it's an area that's predominantly planned for agriculture. It is adjacent to the Lake Run Forest Preserve. Here it is on the zoning map along Norris Road. You can see that it's, again, predominantly zone F district farming. It is in a cluster of F1 parcels that have been, and a couple of E2 parcels that have been split off for residential uses. Here it is on the aerial. Again, you can see it's predominantly being used for farming. A little bit closer, you can see it does have a significant drainage area through the property. It also has an existing single-family home on the southern part closer to Norris Road. This is the area where the landing strip would be positioned. Here's a plat of survey of the property. Here's a close-up, but we had them indicate roughly where they suspect the proposed runway would go. There are conditions and stipulations to this, which would require them to work with an engineer to refine that location. The petitioner did state that they propose to continue to farm as much of the existing farm area as possible and plant the runway and grass. Staff recommended stipulations from Water Resources. They have comments regarding floodplain and wetlands, as well as a stormwater permit would be required and the engineer required to design the site plan and demonstrate conformance with the stormwater ordinance for the new airstrip. Kane County Transportation They initially had sent a comment for dedication of right-of-way. We determined that a dedication would reduce the lot size and then create a non-conformance with the existing single-family use. So they have agreed to and have sent staff substitute language, which I will read into the record and we'll have in the agenda for zoning board. I'll read it per as it was sent, but basically what it does is instead of requiring a right-of-way dedication, it would be allowing for the recording of a permanent easement for highway purposes, which Tom Rickards here to answer any questions, but basically accomplishes the same result with a little bit different mechanism. But KDOT's recommended stipulation updated would be to conveyance of a 33-foot highway easement from the center line of Norris Road to Blackberry Township, which grants and conveys an exclusive permanent easement for the use of Blackberry Township Highway District for any present or future highway right-of-way purpose or any purpose associated with or appurtenant to a township right-of-way such as construction, operation, installation, alteration, repair, replacement, improvement, maintenance, and reconstruction of any facility, structure, or feature, including placement of public utilities, stormwater infrastructure, and sidewalks. Regional Planning Commission not applicable. Zoning Board of Appeals approved with the staff recommend stipulations. They were aware at their meeting that the stipulation regarding the right-of-way might change to an easement. So their motion included either potential, and it's before you this morning. And again, Tom Rickards here if there's any questions on the change in the stipulation.
We have a motion, please.
I'll move it.
And that would include the modification read into the record by Mr. Van Kirkhoff.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
We have a second, please.
Guys,
Mr. Cayos. Comments or questions? Fries.
Yeah, when I looked at their application, when this first came in, I know the petitioner mentioned that he had talked to the neighbors and they were enthusiastic supporters. But I am interested to know have any objectors come forward? And secondly, I want to be sure that through the process, all the adjacent neighbors were notified of this and that everybody is aware of what's going on. Normally, I would expect something like this to have some comments.
Yes, we went through the usual notification process of all adjacent property owners and properties within 250 feet. We did not receive any objections via email, phone, or other, and nobody appeared at the hearing other than the petitioner.
Okay, and as far as, I don't know if the petitioner's on the line, but this is just for, it says up to 2 planes. These are just private planes that they'll be landing there just for their own purposes. So it's not going to be a high volume for any reason, and planes other than the owners would not be landing there.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments or questions, Mr. Cayos?
I would guess that any other planes other than invited planes, like a neighbor could fly, a friend could fly in or something.
Refugees from the
Well,
parts of the world.
invited, yeah, from Guatemala. Is now the standard 250 feet objection area or notification area, is there anything, this is my first with exposure to airstrips. Is there any special language in our development and zoning that addresses private?
Yeah, it's
landing strips? 'Cause
actually
it seems like
enumerated.
it would be since they're flying in from a ways, it'd be a bigger area to be impacted. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so the special use in the F district for a private landing strip for no more than 2 planes is enumerated as a type of special use allowed in the F district. But to answer your question, the notification requirements are not any different than any other rezoning.
And there's not been any problem in the past with that.
We have not had a special use proposed for a private airstrip in quite some time. Just to remind the committee also, we also do have a posted sign that's in front of the property as well. So if someone did happen to miss the notice or lived along Norris Road, they would have had opportunity to see the sign on a KDOT provided construction structure as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Frost.
Yeah, I kind of had the same concerns. It looks to me like the way they oriented it, like they'll be taking off and landing from the east. I just didn't know if that came up at all in any of the meetings, but it looks like it's forest preserve to the east, which would be less offensive than the, there's some fairly substantial horse farms to the south there. So I hate the thought of a plane coming in low over a corral with horses in it.
Yeah, I think we actually even, King County Forest Preserve allows, we have 3 different landing strips for model airplanes. And the one I believe up north is just for a soaring club because it was going to be near equestrian activity. And they requested that we don't even have the little motorized planes.
Yeah, I guess I wish the petitioner was here. I had a lot more questions and I guess I could have pursued them before the meeting, but I'm just a little concerned that we're going to hear from people, as Mr. Kai said, we do a 250-foot notification and this really affects people for probably at least a quarter mile, a half a mile, at least in the direction of takeoff and landings.
Mr. Kenyon.
There's an airstrip out on Kendall Road, right?
Mhm.
And Kendall, one side and the other side is 47. And that's right amongst a lot of horse farms. You drive, there's a big stable there. So, and they apparently are able to live with each other.
Well, and not to be too brittle, but those people have an opportunity to appear and they didn't. So I think.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I think there's the majority of those horse farms probably don't know anything about this. With the 250-foot notification with 5 acre, at least 5 acre size parcels. I wish the petitioner had appeared in person and we could ask him some questions.
Anything else? Hearing nothing. Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Frost,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
That passed.
Motion carries. Other business. Ordinance 21, amending Kane County Code.
Thank you. Last month, I gave a brief presentation and overview of the desirability and need for the Kane County Board to consider updating the versions of the International Code Council model codes for Kane County. Currently, we're on the 2012 version, and that was adopted in 2012. Every 3 years, the International Code Council updates those codes, and it's recommended that we update to the 2021 versions. This will impact our insured businesses and residents throughout the unincorporated area of the county, as their insurance rates are. One of the factors in their insurance rate is the county's score for what codes that we're under, as well as some other factors. So staff, as we related last month, is recommending that we update to the 2021 codes. We have prepared the typical amendments that we have done in the last 3 code update cycles, which customize the model codes somewhat to Kane County in terms of our climate and region that we're in, as well as some of the things specific to how the county functions administratively. Those are included in this packet as well. It's sort of a repeal and replace of the entire chapter. So you'll find some things that aren't being changed, like the fee schedule, which was recently revised. But we're publishing the entire thing together so that it's all in one place for future reference. So what I would request for the county commission to do today is to move this on to exec and the full county board for adoption. The effective date for this is proposed to be January 1st of 2022. It would be effective for all applications received on or after January of 1st of this year. And since we brought this to the committee's attention last month and they directed staff to move ahead, we have been including this information on our website and on emails to our customers, primarily our builders, to make them aware of the code changes. And we have not received any comments or questions regarding that. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions or ask that you move this on for
Motion,
adoption.
please. Mr. Kenyon moves.
Kaya second.
Kaya seconds. Do we have comments or questions? Mr. Van Kerkhoff? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown, Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Braz,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
approved.
Motion carries. Item 2 has a history. You'll recall this appeared bumped around executive and the county board. And at the request of Mr. Van Kerkhoff and the team working on it, it was sent back to development for continued pending their continued review. I'm advised by Mr. Kirkhoff that review in fact does continue, and absent any objection from anybody in the committee, I'm going to say that we take this off the agenda, give it to leave it with Mr. Van Kerkhoff pending the completion of their review and representing to this committee. Is that okay with everybody? Done. Item 3.
Okay, your last item from Development Department this morning is resolution for dangerous and unsafe buildings. As you recall, this is our program for dealing with the worst of the worst properties that for whatever reason are not being maintained or addressed either by the owner or by the bank if it's in foreclosure. Here are just some examples of some of the properties that we have dealt with and used this process to improve in the past. This is sort of a history of the funding. This originated with funds seeded out of the Grand Victoria Riverboat Fund. And currently we're on our third successful allocation of a state grant from the state of Illinois, which reimburses the county for most of those expenses that we expend on the whole process, from attorney and title search to actual hiring contractors to demolish the structure. Since 2018, 15 court orders for demolition have been pursued. One was demolished by the county, 11 demolished by the owner. So it shows a track record of success of just that extra pressure getting action. 2 were rehabilitated by the owner, and we've got 1 ongoing demolition case. And 13 out of 15 were addressed by the owner due to pressure of the potential court order. So it didn't even get to the court order phase. So it's been a very effective program to get action. The process, again, we're dealing with the worst of the worst. We are at the stage of this one where we're asking the county board to adopt a resolution declaring it as being a dangerous and unsafe blighted structure. That is part of the state statute for obtaining a court order. So this is the first step. If that follows through, it goes all the way to the end where we actually file a lien. And then if the property is ever sold, we're able to recapture those funds. But we're very grateful to the state grant that actually reimburses these monies as we spend it, because waiting for a lien to be paid off may take a long time. So we have a resolution this morning for you for 1084 West Drive, St. Charles Township. This property is located on West Drive, just south of the village of South Elgin along the Fox River. You can see it outlined in blue there, as well as a close-up. This is a vacant property with severe unsafe conditions due to animal hoarding. including 1 inches of feces and urine soaked floors throughout the floors of the house. There are 3 deceased dogs and 7 other dogs removed by animal control, multiple code violations for hoarding of dogs in the past. A house has all the doors missing inside, multiple holes in the walls. It's a private owner currently in foreclosure and in the bankruptcy courts. Repairs to the house are further complicated by the fact that it is in the floodplain. The property has not been able to be addressed under the current ownership process. So we are looking for to pursue the court order in this case. I will mention, this is a photo of the house on the outside, which doesn't look like a blighted structure. For sensitivity reasons, we're not including photos of the interior that were obtained by animal control.
Thank you.
But those are available to county board members if you want to see further evidence of the interior conditions which have not been addressed. Anyway, so we're looking for your forwarding this on to executive committee and the full county board, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might
Sounds
have.
like a real fixer-upper.
I'd be glad to move it.
Mr. Kenyon moves. Mr. Berman seconds. Do we have comments or questions? Mr. Fraz?
My only question, is it vacant at this time?
I
Dead animals.
I believe that it is vacant. It was a complicated a family situation. We did post a yellow tag on it in addition to now pursuing this, since there's been no initiative to either examine and document the conditions or to repair the conditions.
I would just suggest before the actual demolition takes place, we confirm that. Thank you.
They'll have the opportunity in the court proceeding to respond should they in fact have an interest in the property.
We used to do this as part of our business, and sometimes you wondered if
Oh, I know.
somebody was in there or not, or squatters. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Mr. Martin?
Mr. Ford?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just out of curiosity, before properties or people get in this situation, are there programs out there for them to get attached to or communicate with?
Yes, in fact, in this case, I should really credit our sheriff's department, animal control, in terms of working with the property owner. This was different because of the animal cruelty that was involved. But typically in cases where there's other types of hoarding or bad conditions, we have a hoarders task force, which is sort of a combination of our team, senior services, as oftentimes these are seniors, as well as sheriff's department and health department, to try to get them assistance or get them connected to someone that can help repair these before it gets to this point. So these are truly the worst of the worst that all efforts to address are not working.
Is any mental health assistance involved in this?
It may be on a case-by-case basis, but
All right, thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Martin?
Mr. Kenyon?
Well, it's in the floodplain too, so it'll be two things to the right, getting rid of a junky building and no more flooding of that area. And I think there's special rules with a house in the floodplain. You can't do so much improvement money-wise. correct?
yeah, this does add a layer of complication to just repairing this property. I can let Ann address that. She's very familiar with the floodplain requirements.
Yeah, what Mr. Kenyon's referring to is what we call the 50% rule, and that's a part of our community participating in the National Flood Insurance Program. So it's a rule across the entire nation. And if a home becomes damaged or it's improved to 50% of its value, they're then required to bring that home into conformance, which means for a home like this, that they would have to eliminate any basement, should they have a basement, and bring that first floor up to 3 feet above the base flood or the 100-year flood elevation. So for a home like this, that would be 6 to 7 feet off the ground they would need to. So it's quite expensive for folks to have to bring their home into conformance with our floodplain standards. And certainly from the evidence that Mr. Van Kerkhoff's department has seen, this home is certainly within the 50% and above margin for those improvements. So.
Thank you. Anything else, Mr. Caius?
Just quickly, I'd like to commend this program. I know that one house in our area was rehabbed very successfully to the gratitude of the neighbors. So it takes a little time to do, but it's well worth this program.
Anything else?
Well, thank you. And we couldn't do this without the assistance of other departments, Health Department, Sheriff's Department, and particularly our State's Attorney's Office, who will, once this is passed by the county board, will initiate that process. And Amy Boffman and Michael Siciliano and Hamid Ahmed on our team are our primary team members working with these problem properties.
Thank you. Anything else? Hearing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Fraz,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
carries.
Motion carries. Planning and special projects.
Great, thank you. As I say every month, our planning division team reports to a number of different committees, and a lot of their work is presented in detail there. So we always present a summary of some of their outside the office activities that we're working on. I will just note, as I've noted for the other committees, that our department has submitted 5 applications to the American Rescue Plan Committee of the County Board for use of funds for primarily economic development, recovery, and ongoing sustainability. And happy to answer any questions about those areas as well, and appreciate your support. Thank you.
Any questions? Hearing none. Do we have any subdivisions today?
No, not today.
I'm not aware. Okay. And anything from environmental resources?
No.
All right, water resources, we're gonna continue to move along on the Ogden Gardens project.
Correct. Is Jody Wolnick on the
I'm-
call?
I'm online. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Let her speak to the.
Great. Thank you, Ann. I have 2 items before the committee today regarding Ogden Gardens Water Trust. The first item is the final step in approving the special service area. As you will recall, this was a condition of the Community Development Block Grant funding. We held a public hearing over 60 days ago, and so this will be establishing this backup SSA mechanism. Should the water trust ever fail, it will allow the county to activate the special service area and hire an operator on board to continue to maintain and operate the water system out there. The second item we have before you is an agreement between the county and the water trust. This is an agreement that will set the expectations of the water trust in regards to this project, which is quite extensive and involves the replacement of the water tank as well as all of the water system out there. The copy in the packet is actually signed by the water trust and as well as all their trustees. So they have agreed to all the conditions the county has laid forth for the project. So I would recommend approval of both of these items.
Ford moves. Berman, second.
Okay, we're moving both items.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Ford. Thank you, Mr. Berman. Are there comments or questions? This is a great project. I mean, we're really solving a problem for a lot of people that
Mr.
can
Chairman,
use the assistance. Mr. Ford.
I just want to say this is a good example of how Kane County government works well with other municipalities.
Agreed. Anything else? Clerk, please call the roll.
Berman,
Berman, yes.
Brown, Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Fraz,
Yes.
Caius,
Caius, yes.
Martin,
Martin, yes.
carries.
Motion carries. Mr. Berger.
Good morning, Chairman Martin, and good morning to members of the Development Committee. We do have one item for you today. It begins on page 91 of your agenda packet. It's a resolution regarding a special allocation of home funds we're expecting to receive from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. These funds were appropriated under the American Rescue Plan Act, and we will be incorporating the award into our Housing and Community Development Action Plan with a substantial amendment that we anticipate bringing to you in the next couple months. Today, our resolution does three things. It establishes a special revenue fund, Fund 414 in the county's ledger, so that we can properly account for this special allocation of home funds. It also adopts a budget for the portion of the allocation that we expect to receive yet this fiscal year 2021. And then finally, it extends our office's current line of credit so that the finance department can set up interfund loans in advance of our receiving reimbursements from Washington. So at this time, we're recommending you send this resolution on to the Finance Committee and ultimately the County Board for consideration. I am certainly happy to answer any questions you might have of me today. Thank you.
It's always a tough job trying to convince us to accept money.
Wonecki moves.
Ms.
Ford
Winicky moves,
seconds.
Mr. Ford seconds. Are there any comments or questions of Mr. Berger?
Good news. Good news.
It is good news. Thank you very much. Hearing nothing but praise. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Berman,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Ford,
Ford, yes.
Iqbal,
Iqbal, yes.
Kenyon,
Yes.
Wojnicki,
Yes.
Braz,
Yes.
Caius,
Yes.
Martin.
Martin, yes.
That passes.
Motion carries. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
I'm not aware of any new business. Anybody have the nerve to bring anything forward at 11:15? May we have unanimous consent to place the reports on file? Hearing no objection,
Yes.
they're on file. We have no executive session. Mr. Kenyon moves to adjourn the meeting and Mr. Ford seconds. All in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The meeting is adjourned.